Hello and welcome to our channel, Between Two Mediums. We're so glad you're here. My name's Kathy. I'm an evidential medium. I deliver messages from spirit to be of service to those without voices from spirit, the spirit world, to bring comfort and guidance and healing to loved ones who are still here.
And I'm Nancy. I'm an Akashic Records reader and medium and Reiki practitioner. And I connect you with loved ones who've passed and give answers from spirit and bring through healing to help you on your spiritual journey.
And together, we've created this space for those of you who are looking to explore your connection with spirit, where we can explore everything from spirit connections to energy healing and spiritual growth. We'll have stories to share, insights, and practical advice to help you feel more connected, more grounded, more aligned to your higher self.
Yeah, and in today's chat, we're just going to have a conversation, but we are going to be focusing today on discussing how we know spirit's near, because a lot of people have that question. How do you know spirit's around you? And so we're going to talk today how we felt it or known it to be true, so that if you're just starting out or somewhere on your journey, you can learn to recognize it too if you're not sure. So let's get started.
So today on Between Two Mediums, we're going to discuss common signs that spirit's around. How do you know? How do you distinguish between everyday life and signs of spirit's presence? And we'll also touch on how to deepen your connection with spirit. So we wanted to start off by talking about what our first experience noticing spirit was. And I can't go back to the very first. I don't know, because in my situation, and everybody's different. In my situation, it started as a child, and I didn't know what was going on, but I was having terrible dreams, and with the same character in each dream. So each dream was very different, but the same character is in that dream. And I also, when I was awake, was noticing I sensed that there was somebody right here. And in your young mind that doesn't understand things very easily, I equated to the person that was in my dream was this person right outside my peripheral vision, right back there. But I could always feel him.
Was it
And
was it
it
somebody
wasn't a good feeling.
scary, or was it, what was like, was it somebody who frightened you in your dreams, or was it somebody who was friendly? Like, what was the
It
feeling you
was
got?
not somebody. He was not unfriendly, but he scared my dreams scared me, but I can't say he wasn't like hurting me or gore. It wasn't anything like what you think of as a nightmare, but they were nightmares because the fear, it was so much fear. And so there I felt like I just felt like as I must be connected to something I shouldn't be connected to. And it scared me. And when you get scared of something, fear grows. So it became this part of my identity that I didn't share with anybody, because why would I tell my parents that I think I'm connected to something not good?
Yeah.
Um, I didn't understand it, so I ignored it. And but he was there through my adulthood until I figured out what this was.
And who
Um,
was
He stayed with me. I could be in the shower, taking a shower, and
Wow.
I'd have to say, "Go away." And that sounds like it was risque or whatever. It's nothing like that. It was just this being that I felt next to me all the time. Scary, very scary until I learned about it. And uh, then I think I'm not scared of that anymore. So,
It's so
but
interesting. So many questions about that.
Nancy, do you remember your first experience?
I do the most memorable one, I was always my grandfather used to read tarot cards, so I kind of felt spirit in reading the cards, but I'll tell you the most interesting and one was when I was going through a really rough time with our family. We were having a situation happening and it was really making me upset. And I went in the bathroom to brush my teeth at night, and I heard spirit. They said something to me. And they said one word, and it was this big, loud, deep, booming voice that I heard like in my head, but it wasn't mine. Because usually you think your own thoughts and you have your own voice in your head, but this was a different voice, and it was really loud, and it said one word, and I was caught. It didn't scare me, but it was so surprising. And I came out to my husband and then out into the other room, and I said, "Oh my gosh, like this is what's going to happen. Like this is why there is." It kind of answered a lot of questions about the situation that we all were dealing with in my extended family, and later on, it came to be true. This was the reason for this whole issue, but. I don't hear that voice anymore. I think maybe one or two times. But it was really like, there's something more than just me. Like there's spirit around me. And it was like my guide coming through to like, because I was really like spiraling, and I needed to hear this word to know why this was happening when everything had been good before then. So yeah, that was my first experience noticing spirit. It was pretty awesome. It was pretty wild.
And I do, that's pretty cool. I do want to say to people listening that it changes. So like how it was then is so not what it is now. It's just
Mhm.
when you don't recognize something, you don't understand, you tend to shy away and fear it. And but so it's very different for me now.
Yeah.
Like I don't have those dreams anymore because I understand what it is. I
Yeah.
don't, I'll never have those dreams again. Um, and I also am no longer fearful. I welcome because I recognize now it was just such an education that had to happen along my path. And, not, I didn't even know I was on this path, educating myself in this direction. It was just an unfoldment, an, an unfolding, I guess, of,
Mhm.
um, my understanding. And now I'm, I can look back and laugh at that and think that was pretty cool that I actually felt that. I'm sure I'm sure it's much different for you now too.
Yeah, I was thinking as you were saying that, like what, like you're talking about how it changes over time, and that, obviously I was married at the time, and I'm trying to think of when that was. I remember seeing spirit one night too, like next to my bed, this little kid, and my kids remember. I screamed bloody murder. Like they actually thought I was being killed, and this I wasn't. I was just having a nightmare. But I actually saw this figure, and I was wide awake, and they stayed in their beds and were afraid to come out because they thought like something tragic was actually happening. And but it changes, and luckily I'm not luckily, I really would love to see spirit. I would love to hear spirit like I did that time, but yeah, it hasn't come back to be that. And that was probably in my 40s, I want to say, and it wasn't
Mhm.
until 50 when I really dove deep into this that it's kind of been more subtle, and I'm like, please spirit, show me who you are. It'll make it so much easier. But it's been changing, but not like that. So yeah, I don't know. How about for you? When did you like start delving into this that it changed for you? Or you
Oh,
start, not that it changed for you, but that you started um where it's different now, where the dream stopped. What age was that?
I had had my second child. So
Okay.
I was married. My husband knew of my dreams. Um, I had my second and I had two kids kind of back to back. And which and I just remember feeling out of sorts and everything. So I ended up going to talk. I ended up going to acupuncture, and this gentleman who was my acupuncturist made a was interested in my dreams. I guess I had alluded to him, and but I wouldn't talk about it. I wouldn't give this thing any energy, any power
Mm.
by acknowledging it, especially out loud to somebody else. And he could tell he was poking me a little bit, trying to get me to talk about my dreams. And I'm a no. I mean, I was fearful,
Yeah.
not understanding what this was. No, I'm not going to talk to you who are kind of a stranger. I mean,
Yeah.
to me. And he told me his story. And there was no profound sentence that he said. but there was something that he said that I believe I was ready to hear, and I heard it in a way in which it completely shifted the
Mhm.
way I thought
Yeah.
about my dreams. And he doesn't even know he said something that impactful to me. Um, like I didn't tell it, just I internalized it. And then I kind of was like, wanted to have this dream again because I wanted to, I was looking at it differently, and I
Mm.
never had the dream again. I knew I would never have that dream again.
So
I knew I was no longer, I was curious now, not afraid.
yeah.
And and I think it's, looking back, fantastic, because then I think it did, my curiosity that sparked then
Mhm.
led me on this path.
Yeah.
So
It's so interesting. It's so interesting how it changes, and like you said, it's at the right for what you how you can I don't know what I'm trying to say, but, like, it
it's
comes
at the right
in the
time.
way that you need it at the time. They give you how much you can handle, and, we
Mhm.
were talking about how it changes. I know after we went to that retreat, they started trying to talk through me, like, I really felt this sensation when spirit was near. It was like this and I still get it, but not and now I guess I just am used to it, but it was became this lump in my throat that I felt, knowing spirit, and I hadn't felt that before. It definitely changed over time, and anyway, they were trying to kind of talk through me the trance mediumship of sorts, and I wasn't ready for that. I am easily freaked out and scared, and I said to spirit, "Look, I that's a little too much for me," and they really dialed it back. And now I kind of am ready for them to go forward with that even more. But they kind of I think tweak around and feel you out for what you're ready for and how they can come through. And so maybe you were more open in your dream state to getting in touch with the spirit. Maybe I had to be in that really awful like spiraling mentality for them or whatever was going on when they appeared in my room. But maybe I'm not ready for that at this time, or it's not necessary. They don't want to do that. So yeah, it definitely changes and evolves and is what you're ready for and can handle at the time.
And I think that's key, Nancy. It's what you're ready for and what can
Yeah.
handle, because what you can handle at that time. Because I think um, spirit wants to help. Spirit wants
Mhm.
to communicate. They don't have the voice, so we have to learn to communicate in different ways. So we have, that's just what this evolvement is. It's just opening yourself up to feel their loving guidance, and because I do believe that's all it um is loving guidance. But let's talk about those physical sensations that you brought up. You brought up the lump in your throat.
Mhm.
So you could feel that that things were changing for you. um are there other physical sensations that you felt or have felt along the way?
I I remember, well, I remember when I first felt the sensation we were doing healing at the same retreat. That retreat was so life-changing for me. But it was
Yeah.
the first time that I did healing in person because I had always been virtual with people before. And as we were doing the healing, I felt my hands like I felt an all over body like heat and a sensation in my hands. That I hadn't felt before. And but even though even doing Reiki or doing Akashic records, I can just kind of feel a shift in the energy and it's very subtle. It's not like, hit me on top of the head or something. And I don't know. How about for you? I don't know if I answered the question, but yeah,
Well, yeah, well, I
a little
think
variety of things.
there's a huge variety, and I think it changes, and you can't predict what you're gonna feel, what you're not gonna feel. I can tell you that um when I just do my mediumship, I know when I'm ready to do a
Mhm,
reading.
mhm,
I do feel like I it's a physical sensation that I leave my everyday life self to the side,
mhm,
and I shift over, and I feel it from my gut. I know I'm ready when I get a sensation in my gut.
mhm.
It's not my head, which is weird to say that out loud, but that's
Yeah.
what it is. Um, I can feel it that way. I've learned to feel it in other ways too, because I've learned to trust that when I get a random thought about somebody that just it wasn't in my normal train of thought at the moment, I know I'm to pay attention to that. I
Mhm.
know that that's, you could be driving along and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I need to call that person. I had never called them and I need to call them. Um, I have time now, I can call them. So that that I've learned is probably something I need to pay attention to.
Mhm.
But I will say I've had some physical sensations. I'm sorry, that was not really physical, but I've been touched on my hand. I've had that electrical current
Mhm.
while doing a meditation
Oh,
on my inner arm here. And I actually was sitting in there with my eyes shut, feeling it. And then I'm thinking I had a bug on me, but I was so relaxed at the point that I didn't like flip out like I normally would. And um, I just let myself feel it. And it just was like, it's just going up and down here. And it was gentle, but it was like a tingle, like
yeah.
electrical thing. And when I finished the meditation, I was with a group of people, and the woman next to me also had the same thing. And so
Interesting.
that was pretty cool. I don't know, I can feel chills, I get excitement. I feel like I want to cry. There's so many different physical things I can feel, but I will say it's not the same thing every time.
Mhm.
It's different and it has evolved over time.
Yeah. It was interesting because like I said, was developing mostly by myself, virtually. And when I went in person with people, and we were sitting in that circle, and our mentor Joseph was saying, speak aloud and say what you're feeling. And the person next to me, she was saying, "Oh, I'm feeling suddenly like really cold, or I'm feeling really warm." And it was interesting because I normally, as a practice by myself, like I would just be like, "Oh, I'm cold. I gotta, the wind's blowing. I gotta put my coat on or my jacket on or whatever, or my sweater. It doesn't matter." But I thought it was just me. I thought it was just my hormonal self that was having issues. But when I was getting validation, and several people were saying, "Yeah, it's gotten really cold in here," and it wasn't that the heat changed or anything because it was second to second or whatever. That was really validating. And then sometimes I did obviously pass that off as just, being the way it was, when it wasn't. It was spirit. It was so subtle that I didn't know.
And I've gotten a sensation and I feel like it's lessened over time, but I used to get like a feeling like a hand was on right here on my face. It was always right here. And that to me kind of told me that that's what
Yeah.
um I would do that. I wouldn't be like I'd be washing dishes and get that feeling. It would be when I was doing a meditation, I could feel a gentle touch on my face. And I hear that that's common, to actually feel somebody touching your face. It wasn't
Yeah.
creepy. It sounds creepy to say that, to imagine it if you didn't have it. It's just a sensation, right?
Yeah.
That I just interpret the sensation as that somebody's here. I know that they're close. There's a
Mhm.
lot of physical things that you can feel.
Mhm.
It's noticing them.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes I feel like a tingle in my head. And after I skate, I remember, and it still happens, they kind of I feel a shift in my mouth, where my facial features change, and that's when I really know spirit's there, or they're moving my head, when I'm getting into the trance mediumship, and that is a really, really, unique experience, but yeah, it's not typically that obvious. It's definitely more subtle than that. But when that
Yeah.
happens, it's really incredible. You're like, wow, this is definitely true because I'm always a skeptic, and to a fault sometimes, and sometimes they come through quite clearly, and that's really just there's no doubt about it in that instance.
Well, you keep talking, and when you're talking, I keep thinking of different
And that
things.
happens
Um, but
when you
my
talk.
face would twitch
Yeah,
when I would go into a deep, and it was embarrassing. I
yeah.
feel like it would like, but it kind of became a comfort for me,
Mhm.
and it's definitely much more subtle now, and I don't feel it as much, but I can almost, if I feel a twitch in my face while I'm driving, I just think, oh. they're, somebody's close. This is good. It's a positive thing. But yeah, my face used to twitch really
Yeah, it's
terribly.
crazy.
Not like some I'll give it to them. Their face
Yeah,
completely
we'll have a good
changes,
sign. It's pretty awesome.
but I can feel twitching sometimes,
Hmm.
so um anyway, it's kind of I don't know. I found the twitching to be a source of comfort after I got used to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it comes up at weird, interesting times as a substitute teacher. I don't know if you found out a bit more so this year for me. I'll start feeling like so anxious, so jittery, and that lump in my throat. And I've figured out that it's when a loved one of one of the students, or even a paraeducator in this case, that was coming through and maybe wanted me to say something or just to know that they were there. But I don't do readings at school or bring it up in any way. But I know that spirit's there at that time, and it's just pretty wild when my heart starts. I was like, what is wrong with me? um, but yeah, it's just different energy that you feel, a shift, a huge shift. And people said, I
Yeah.
was reading this last night about it. Somebody's like, make sure you get that checked out because it could be a heart issue. It wasn't me who wrote it, it was somebody else, but they said, if you do experiencing these things and you say, well, that's spirit, spirit, like make
Oh
sure it's not a
gosh.
real medical issue, that you're not having
Right.
a heart issue that needs to be checked out by a doctor, and passing it off as spirit because sometimes it is something really truly going on in your body. I just want to say that.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
It kind of like for me feels more like nerves.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I don't know what this woman I hate to say it, I was on Reddit. I,
yeah,
a lot of information I've been getting about other things,
yeah.
but it's helpful with spiritual stuff too. See
Well, yeah, and you
seeing
talked
people's
about changes
experiences.
in temperatures and um energy and but how do you like let's talk about what visual cues. How do you, Nancy, um interpret the visual signs? Like, are they subtle or are they obvious? Are they through your eyes or through your mind's eye?
I guess through mind's eye, I see things as I'm giving somebody a reading, and I bring it up. Maybe the other day I was seeing like this huge, it was a bridge I remember in Louisiana or Texas somewhere or in between there, but there's this huge steep bridge and you don't think you're going to be able to find the other side, but there is. So it was in reference to what I was giving the information for the Akashic records. And sometimes in dreams I'll get like a very crisp, clear image of somebody. And usually I have a reading the next day and I'm like, would your loved one look like this? And it's a really clear picture, like almost a photograph that I saw. And it was so different than a typical dream that I know that it's a message or a sign of some sort. But things
Hmm.
like that, yeah, I mean, we could go on for days about this. But how about you? How about what do you see or notice as visually?
Um, well, when I'm doing a reading, I see all kinds of things, but I don't necessarily see the exact person or the exact thing. I see things that make me say things. So like I guess there's two different things. When I'm doing a reading, I can see like a tumbling. I can see whether they had luxurious hair, believe it or not. I feel like that's a confident one or not, a confident one that I have. But I don't necessarily see the exact person. I see things, characteristics of that person.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen cartoon characters. I have seen um, images in my mind's eye, like of Goofy's feet, like Goofy, the cartoon
Yeah,
character, his
yeah.
feet. But if in my mind, the way I see Goofy's feet, they're in well-dressed shoes. So I will say, like I can see where somebody may have had an interest. It's different things that I see that make me say, I start talking about
Uh-huh.
maybe shoes. And I don't know why it's goofy, but it usually fits into something somehow. I I I'm trying to think of other I've seen so much, I feel like, but I do want to talk about when I'm not doing a reading, the first time I actually really saw spirit. I saw them. And this was not that long ago.
Okay.
I I have been places where others say they can see things, and I might be able to see like a shadow or something, but this more recently, I was somewhere and I actually physically could see them. That was mind blowing.
I've been wanting that.
That
What do you
was
mean? Who was it and what did it look like? What was it?
well, we were at um a retreat,
Okay.
and I don't know who the people were because we weren't like doing readings or anything to know specifically, but it was those in spirit who showed up to support us in our learning.
Oh,
And
okay.
believe it or not, as like, if I would have said that 10 years ago, I would have thought that's a little too much for me. But it's true, it's completely unbelievably true, and it's supportive and it's good. But I could see some of them, not all of them. I could see their height. I could see, and the one time, and could I could actually see a man huge sitting down with his hands behind his head like this, just watching, and not creepy. That sounds so creepy, but I believe that you can see. Some people see far more than that.
Mhm.
That it's just as you evolve in different situations and different energies and your energy and how it all meshes, you can experience different things, physical and visual. That was crazy. That was
That was I saw a little bit, but not that, but other people did. It was validated by other
oh,
people.
it was validated by
So that was
a lot
really
of people.
amazing that you got that validation that other people saw the
I
same
had
thing at
also
the time.
had somebody standing right in front of me, and I knew it was okay. He wasn't hurting me. He wasn't
Yeah.
staring at me. Like hope people who are listening don't think it is anything creepy, and it's bizarre conversation. I understand. I mean, it's a bizarre conversation. But he was standing right in front of me to the point where I felt like I had to back away, even though you don't. But it's um it's
Yeah.
amazing what can happen. It's amazing how, we tell ourselves that things aren't possible. We can't. And let go of that a little bit. Gosh,
Hmm.
so many things can open up.
Yeah. Yeah. So true.
So
And I
um
think, I know for you, you were saying that you can feel that they have this certain hair or whatever, like with these are our clairs, and we can go more into it later, but some people are maybe more visual. I'm more auditory feeling. I don't hear those voices, but I kind of in my head, my thoughts I know are not. It's, it's like I'm
yeah.
bananas. But I know I'm not, and that's taken been part of this journey as well. But feeling I feel like how somebody feels their size or their personality or the way that they talk. So we'll get into that in other conversations about that all, and how you can tell spirits near and noticing them and all that.
I
And
I do.
do you feel I think we both do. I don't know, but I'm going to ask you, do you feel this love or comfort during sessions most of the time? And in your experiences with them? What's your
Oh,
feeling?
do I feel love or comfort?
Yeah,
For sure. I don't feel anything but that, to be
yeah.
honest. I know people will say, well, don't you feel other things? I don't. I feel that there's always a purpose. I feel like when I said earlier when we introduced ourselves that I try to do this to be of service to connect those in spirit to those here, and that's always out of love. It's always out of love.
Mhm,
So I do feel the emotion. I can feel sorrow. I can feel, and it's just, I can sense it's a sensation rather than, I don't think of a time that in my life I felt sorrow. It's a sensation of, that feeling. So
mhm,
I can feel sorrow. I can feel whoo happiness and giddiness, like,
mhm,
and for sure love, so much love sometimes that it actually, um, it'll make me cry,
mhm,
or I feel it's almost like I can't, it's just, I can't describe it. I wish it's something that I could share with the person that I'm doing a
Yeah.
reading for, because it's such a powerful love feeling that comes through. So yeah, but when I'm in my everyday life, I can, so that's just during a reading, but during the day, I do want to bring this up. I can almost get a reminder in my head, pops into my head, remember, relax and feel happy today.
Yeah.
And with that comes a feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very true.
I think it's out there for us to feel, and we just have to notice it.
Yeah. I feel that too. Because somebody had brought, I ask you that because somebody, I'm slowly coming out of the closet, and I was talking to somebody who had known that a good friend, for years, didn't know that I do this. And she was like, but don't you get scared? Aren't you worried about who's going to come through? And I said, no, I haven't had issues. And I was talking about how I've done all these readings, hundreds of readings, and no, nobody has come through. And then now they will tomorrow. But in general, it's been a good experience. Even at that place we stayed and the doors were slamming at night, or yeah, it freaked me out a little bit. But was it something to be afraid of? No, because it wasn't. I knew it wasn't a menacing, mean energy that was coming through. And like you said, yeah, just even when I'm talking to the Akashic records and having my loved ones come through, or guides, like they're so excited when I'm doing a reading for somebody, and they have connected with spirit for the first time in the session. The guides are so excited. Like they're like their loved ones are like, yeah, we're here. Like you have so much to say. It is this happy feeling and this energy. And like you said, like if you could bottle it up and give to somebody, you would love
Mhm.
to, because it is just such a beautiful feeling when you connect. And sometimes it's playful when we're at that place and the doors are making noise or whatever, but it's never frightening. And I used to be, I'm going on too long, but I used to be, and I still am kind of a person. I would go stay at this overnight, lock us in and try and find spirit with our receivers or whatever you call the different devices, and telling ghost stories in this. But it's not like that when I'm doing it for myself or connecting with other people. It is not this thing to fear or be worried
Mhm.
about when spirits close. Mean energy that was coming through. And like you said, yeah, just even when I'm talking to the Akashic records and having my loved ones come through, or guides, like they're so excited when I'm doing a reading for somebody, and they have connected with spirit for the first time in the session. The guides are so excited. Like they're like their loved ones are like, yeah, we're here. Like you have so much to say. It is this happy feeling and this energy. And like you said, like if you could bottle it up and give to somebody, you would love
Mhm.
to, because it is just such a beautiful feeling when you connect. And sometimes it's playful when we're at that place and the doors are making noise or whatever, but it's never frightening. And I used to be, I'm going on too long, but I used to be, and I still am kind of a person. I would go stay at this overnight, lock us in and try and find spirit with our receivers or whatever you call the different devices, and telling ghost stories in this. But it's not like that when I'm doing it for myself or connecting with other people. It is not this thing to fear or be worried
Mhm.
about when spirits close.
Yeah, it's that's a whole different topic that I'd like to
Yeah.
explore in another
About that.
session.
But
Because let's wrap up here. Let's give our listeners a couple of ways to deepen their connection to spirit, deepen their connection to what they might not yet know to be spirit. So we're going to each end with a tip here. And my tip is, if you're not sure, you want to kind of feel it, but you don't, or you're not sure, I want you to start just by being open to noticing it, being open to recognizing, I did just have that thought pop in my head. What if I accepted that that was something from spirit? Um, or I did just I did just feel a sensation, or I got that smell. I smelled something
Mm.
that reminded me of my grandfather. Oh, that's probably a coincidence. Where'd that come from? It came from somewhere. Or what if you just accept it? I think that's the beginning if you're looking to start. And even if you have already started, notice a lot more. Even reflect upon your day and go through your day and think about what happened? What was I thinking? What was different? What caught my attention? And just start allowing it, because once my belief system is once those who are trying to put those sensations out, messages out to you, get your attention. No, once they notice that you're starting to
Mhm.
notice them, catch them, they're going to start doing them more.
Yeah, you're so right. You're
So
so right.
that's my tip. Start noticing it, recognizing it, and go as far as accepting it
Yeah, and document it.
and
Get yourself
document
a
it.
little journal and write it down because you
Yes.
may start to see things happen more. And because I always say, yeah, like you just said, speak aloud about it, because spirit wants to know that you're noticing these signs or noticing these feelings because they'll do it more. And ask
Yes.
them to come closer. But my tip is to, and this is me, like and this got me stuck for a long time, is trying to do it the way somebody else does it, because people on YouTube or Instagram are very forceful, and they're trying to want you to come back to them, and you can fall into the trap of feeling like you have to do it like them, or wanting to do it like them, and your way is unique. So just make sure you know that there isn't one way that this comes about, and as we've talked about today, it evolves and changes. The way I did it, hearing that voice or feeling that sensation may change tomorrow and be different or the same or come on stronger. Who knows? So just know that there isn't one way, and don't get discouraged if your way isn't the same as somebody else or it's not happening for you. People are like, I'm not feeling it. I don't get it. I'm not, especially when we're learning to go on the Akashic records, like, chill out. You're gonna get it. Like, just relax a little bit and find your own path when it happens, and just, you know, kind of
Yeah.
just trust. It'll come to you. Just trust.
Yeah. Well, we thank
So,
you for tuning in to us today with Between Two Mediums, and we hope you enjoyed our conversations. We also hope you tune in to other episodes that we're going to be posting. Lots of topics to get to. So go ahead and click the link below if you want to know a little bit more about Nancy and I and what we do and what we're offering in the area, both in person and virtually. For that would be open to anybody. Um, but in the meantime, stay curious. It's a world of wonderment out there, and I think it's exciting. And I hope you tune back in and join our conversations.
I agree. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you'll get the next episode when it is dropped. All
Take
right.
care.
Bye, everybody.